Baseline to baseline rally, we can also divide into 3 different categories. There is a defense situations, there is a neutral situation, and there is also offensive situation. Your goal behind the baseline is climb up the ladder, try to get to the offensive situation as many times as you can. For example, if you find yourself the defensive situation, your goal is to come back into the point, try to start rally in the neutral situation. The key thing is awareness. You have to be aware whether you are at the offense or whether you are at the defense. Let's take, for example, a defensive situation. Our goal is to climb up from defense to neutral. And the important thing is when you find yourself at the defensive situation, try to buy time by hitting the ball high over the net and also deep. So you're buying time to come back into the point and continue rallying in the neutral game situation, more or less. Let's take, for example, defensive situation. When your defense is short, your opponent have more options to end up the point, and you find yourself constantly running, and you are in a difficult situation. Now, when the game situation is neutral, you find yourself hitting the backhand, you definitely have to have a game plan. One of the tactics I'm using is I hit my backhand down the line, and my opponent hits his shot cross-court, so I get my forehand back again. So I can establish my favorite pattern, which is my forehand against my opponent backhand. But when 2 players are right-handed, it's important to lean a bit over and try to start hitting your forehand against your opponent backhand. So it's a backhand rally, try to run around it and start hitting inside-out forehands, for example. I think when you are in the neutral rally and your opponent hits short or weak ball and you don't run around it, you're making a mistake. It depends on how good is your forehand, how good is your backhand. But definitely, when you find your forehand is your strength, try to use it more often than your weakness, your backhand. Most of the shots behind the baseline, definitely you need to use your forehand more. When you have gained advantage over your opponent, now important thing is try to keep your advantage over your opponent. Let's say you can hit your forehand from this position, you can attack more and try to make your opponent run and maybe approach the net, or maybe you can finish the point. But as you run behind the baseline, your main job is to stay in the point or create an advantage over your opponent. There are different zones on the court. When you find your court position further behind the baseline, try to hit the ball back deep and try to push your opponent further back. So this zone is more or less defensive zone. You don't end the point when you rally further behind the baseline. Now, when you find yourself closer to the baseline, you rally here. This is the building zone. So try to build up the point, try to stay in the point. When your court position improves, you find yourself 2 feet inside the court. Now, definitely you can be more aggressive. You have to put more pressure to your opponent, maybe hit some winners, maybe approach the net. So this zone is the finishing zone. Here you can finish the points. When you find yourself here and you have time, definitely finish the point. So when you get close to the net, the biggest mistake is that you're not able to finish the point. You're hitting your shot straight to your opponent and the point goes on. Try to avoid this mistake. The biggest mistake that you can do when you find yourself further behind the baseline is go for some glorious shots, for example, down the line. You're gonna miss a lot of shots, you're gonna miss most of your shots, and it leads to frustration. So when you find yourself further behind the baseline, you really need to start climb up the ladder. I know it's easy to go for the wonder shots and try to finish the point. That's it for today. Thanks for watching. I will see you soon. Take care. Bye.